Hey guys, welcome back to my now existing channel. I have with me today a few books. Most of the books that I've read this year are on my Kindle. I have to fix the stickers in the back. I'm actually going to change them soon because I've had this since the beginning of the year, I think. I'm gonna fix it really quick right now because it's bothering me. That's a little bit better. So for my mid-year reads, I have read a total of 10 completed books, not counting the books of the Bible because I didn't mention it, but I'm not going to count devotionals or books of the Bible because those are separate and I read them like in between other books. And then midway finished because they're either nonfiction and I take my time with them, 3 books. So actually for the beginning of the year, I did a lot of Prime reading and Kindle reading because I got Kindle Unlimited. So I was trying to read a lot of books on my Kindle. I feel like for the types of books that I like, I wasn't able to find on Kindle Unlimited, so I wouldn't get it for myself. There's a lot of pros, like you can listen to audiobooks and some like popular books are on Kindle Unlimited, but they're mostly the spicy ones. And if you know me and you've been subscribed for a while, you know that I don't like spicy books. So the first book that I read to start off the year was the Selection series. I was excited because I love historical romance. I love royalty types of books, but I was so disappointed, guys. I rated it a 2.5 out of 5. I know. And the reason why I rated it that way, I remember I did not like the fact that it ended and we had to read the next book to find out what happened. My favorite thing about series is when each individual book is their own book with the finale. You know what I'm saying? For example, I read The Inheritance Games and I loved how even though it's a series, the first book could honestly be a standalone. So, but with the Selection series, it ended in a cliffhanger and you basically have to read the next book to find out what happens. And it's like, why can't you just choose already your person in the first book? You know what I think it is? I read some of the Bridgerton books, and in the Bridgerton books, each and every book is its own courting season with its own couple. And with the Selection series, it's just like you have to keep reading to find out what happens next. And I do not like that, so. But not only that, I don't like when couples are involved in a love triangle. It's basically like you have someone at home and now you're playing games with this guy. It was just not my thing. That's all I remember of it, to be honest. The next book that I read was Legend. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I have the whole reading vlog up about it, so I'm not gonna give you the tea. Watch that video to understand all my thoughts about this. But if you know me, I love a good dystopian book, and this did it. And it's actually part of a series that I plan on finishing. The next book that I read was The Final Offer. It was basically part of these marriage of convenience types of book series that were going on. It was like trending on TikTok. I read Terms and Conditions and I actually really liked that one. I read that one last year. So then I read Final Offer because it was part of the Kindle Unlimited free books at that time. I rated Final Offer 2.5 out of 5. I did not like it. I think it was very spicy. The plot I really couldn't get into. It was just not my type of book. I was expecting it to be like a cute second chance type of thing, which I guess for some it is, but it was mostly triggering because the main guy, he's like an alcoholic. It's basically a mom and a daughter, and then this guy comes. The main guy's like rich and then they live together. It's like they knew each other. They were like exes and stuff. It was just a lot and it was not my type of book. And I usually love second chances. So that's coming from someone who loves second chances. The next one I read was The Exception to the Rule. It's a short story. I read it during the month of February. I gave that one a 5 out of 5. I really love that book. I remember it just being so cutesy. It was exactly what I needed. This guy and this girl, they messaged each other by accident basically. And then ever since on that date, they've sent each other messages. They've become like best pen pals and stuff like that, except through the web. Let's just say that one day they meet. And it was just so cute. And then actually even before they met without knowing. It's exactly what you need for a quick short story. I read another short story during the month of February, Worst Wingman Ever. If you've read Abby Jimenez books, you know that she just gut wrenches you. She makes a story so lively because she brings real life problem situations into a book and it just makes you feel all the feels. It was about this woman. She's like a home nurse aide. She gets put this note into her car by accident, and it was basically this guy's brother who made a mistake sake of putting a note to his, I believe, wife or fiance in the woman's car. Ever since, they've left notes for each other in the windshield of the car and stuff like that. Happy, heartfelt romances. The next book that I read was The Bodyguard. I love that one. That was my first Catherine Center book. I rated that 4.5 out of 5. And I read it because Jess Conti actually recommended it. She mentioned that if you were a fangirl growing up, then you would like it. And I in fact did like it because I'm a fangirl still. Not obsessively, but I'm still a fangirl. The woman was actually the bodyguard in this book instead of vice versa. She was basically protecting the guy from this obsessive, crazy fan that kept sending weird stuff to his house. The main guy's mom is actually sick, so he hasn't been in mainstream for a while. The bodyguard lives on a ranch with him for a few weeks to protect him, and also because the fact that he doesn't want his mom to know that he's in danger. So that's how the romance starts. They keep things undercover. Let's just say romance might have flourished along the way. Next, Picking Daisies on Sundays. I rated that book 4.8 out of 5. If you are a words of affirmation girly, you need to read the book. I couldn't stop geeking. It was amazing. Levi is such a great writer. He's like a poet. This book, if I could describe it, it's like the most wholesome teenage young adult feeling type of romance book where the main girl kind of compares herself a lot to other girls. It's a second chance type of book as well. Daisy and Levi were actually childhood best friends, but one day Daisy confessed her feelings to him at a party while she was intoxicated. He kind of rejected her, so ever since she was heartbroken. They never talked again, but then they meet again while she's at this bar. And let's just say he wasn't gonna let her go, even though she wanted to completely ignore him because he was embarrassed. It's just so cute because now they're older, they're getting to meet each other again, like if it's the first time. Let's just say it like that because I don't want to spoil too much. After I read that, I went ahead and read Better Than the Movies because I've had this in my bookshelf for a while and I remember saying I wanted to read it. I have a link also explaining all my thoughts and feelings about this book. It's unlisted because, I don't know, I just took it off of the public eye, but you will find it under my books playlist. Short story short, I rated this book 3.5 out of 5. I thought I was gonna like it because this is like Haley Pham's all-time favorite book. It was just not my cup of tea. I couldn't really connect to the main character. I kind of felt like it was very unrealistic. And that's crazy because when you're in the middle of reading a book, you don't really think about how it might be fake or how it might not be real. You just get so involved in the story that it feels so real. You know what I'm saying? And you connect with these characters. But throughout the book, I was like, this is so cliche. Maybe because it reminds me of the cheesy romance movies as well. It's cute if it has a little bit in them, but if the whole story is kind of something that I've already seen multiple times, it won't really catch my eye. And then if you want, again, a more in-depth review on this book, I'll leave the link down below. The next book I read is called The Doctor's Lady. I rated this one a 5 out of 5. It's a Christian romance book and I can't stop talking about how good it is. It's a historical fiction literature that has faith aspects and components to it. It's a marriage of convenience story, which is like, I love marriage of conveniences. I don't know why, I just do. It's about this woman who feels called to serve in missionary work. But during the time, in order to serve, you had to be married. Same goes for men. So one day, this doctor comes along, and this doctor, he is the doctor for the natives, and he comes to this woman's school. She's a teacher for kids. She's like an independent type of woman. This guy's not really looking forward to getting married. He's kind of trying to push aside the fact that he has to. He wishes that he could just do it alone. They're kind of like enemies to lovers as well at first because they have bad impressions of each other when they meet for the first time. So they're like, no, I don't want to marry this woman. And she's like, I don't want to marry this man. And then they end up marrying and they just have to push problems aside and work together to do missionary. And it was just such a beautiful story. If I could read the quotes to you, I would, but I don't want to spoil it. Read it for yourself. It's so good. A lot of the times Christian romances are so cliche and they're so predictable, but this one was like so amazing. It was kind of like I was reading a Francine Rivers type of book, or even like Valerie M. Bodden. I love her books. Like when I read Jodi Hedlund's book, it honestly felt so real and I learned so much from it. I love when I can learn so much from books, when you can actually use the knowledge knowledge component from it and not just read a book just to read it for entertainment. So yeah. And then I started reading Love and a Fix because I wanted to read more Christian literature. I haven't really finished this one, but I'm so close to finishing it that I can rate it. It's also A Marriage of Convenience. This book is probably going to be like a 3.8 or a 4, but it deals with this woman who has a lot of financial troubles because she lost her husband. Then there's this man, his name is Shep, and he also lost his wife. Both of these persons actually go to the same church. Their spouses were like best friends with one another, so they're friends as well. They meet in this church. So that's when the woman allows herself to be helped. They throw this crazy idea into the air, or basically they just get married to help each other solve all the problems, and that they wouldn't need to do anything crazy, but just so he can help her because she basically was struggling financially. She's also a single mom. He wants the best for her and her son. So they just work those issues out. She's very stubborn and she has a lot of pride, but it was a very interesting story. I'm almost done, so I could say it was really nice to see that aspect of it. Relationships in real life, right? They come with a lot of problems and it's not always sunshines and rainbows. So I just wanted to get into books that also delve into that, just to see perspectives and how perspectives are important. I'll have like the actual rating down below. I'm gonna try to finish it. Now I have these Christian non-fiction books that I've started throughout the year while I was in college. I haven't finished reading them because remember when I read books that Christian booktubers recommended to me? There was one by Ray Comfort and it was called The Holiness of God, and I couldn't finish reading that book. It took like a whole month because it's just so much knowledge. You just want to soak everything in and actually just spend time with God and really reflect on the things being talked about, and that's exactly how I feel. So I'm not in no rush. These are the types of books that you cannot finish in one sitting. You need to take your time with them. So I'm going to share them with you. I have Called to Create, which I've mentioned, which is for people who are very artistic and creative. It's a biblical invitation to create, innovate, and risk. If you are a YouTuber, I definitely recommend to read this because you will find yourself thinking about everything that you're doing, and I definitely recommend it because it's a really good tool so you can always ground yourself and realize, am I putting Christ in everything and all the work that I'm doing? One of my favorite things while I was reading was on page 81, it says, if we create to make a name for ourselves, we will never be satisfied. We will never feel as if our work is more than a job, a true calling on our lives, and inevitably we will devastate our lives and those of our loved ones. But if we, like Batch, see our creating as a means of revealing God's character and loving others, then we have proper ambition to write, work, and create like we are running out of time, because in fact we are. Then I mentioned this one in my community. Never really showed it to you. It's Authentically Uniquely You by Joyce Meyer. As someone who is a big people pleaser and I'm trying not to people please, this book really speaks volumes to me. I could read a little verse to you. Let's see. Why is it so important that we love ourselves? First, if we don't love ourselves, we reject God's love for us. Second, if we don't love ourselves, we cannot love God or anyone else. This is amazing. It says, there are people in the world who like to control and prey on people who are insecure and are easily manipulated. But people who are confident and love themselves as God loves them won't put up with those who seek to control others for their own self-gratification. I'm sorry. This is the one that I'm recently starting. I recently purchased this one. It's so good because I really want to learn to pray more because there's a lot happening in the world that we don't really talk about. This book is called Fervent, A Woman's Battle Plan for Serious, Specific, and Strategic Prayers by Priscilla Shirer. I'm someone who always feels called to pray for certain individuals. I always have dreams about these individuals and I feel like that's God speaking to me to pray for them. And I want to be able to pray and pray and pray, but I feel like I don't have enough strategies. So here is this book, and this book has been helping me. On page 34, it says, listen to me. Nothing is too far gone that your God cannot resurrect it. So if you've been praying for something for a long time or for someone and you just gave up, lost all hope because you feel like God hasn't answered you, just remember this one quote. I'm kind of hesitant on this book though because I feel like it's giving the enemy a lot of power because it's basically talking about the enemy's tactics. It's kind of weird for me because I never really read a book where it's basically like the enemy. I'll just give you an example. There's this quote that says, Satan is nothing but a copycat, trying desperately to convince you he's more powerful than he actually is. Because remember, he does have limitations, boundaries he cannot cross, no matter how much he desires or how hard he tries. But honestly, after reading this part, I was like, okay, he can't be everywhere at once. Only God is omnipresent. He can't read your mind. Only God is omniscient. He is merely an illusionist using cunning trickery to deceive and mislead. Only God can work flat out, unmistakable miracles. And last but certainly not least, he is running out of time. Our God is eternal. When I read that, he's running out of time, that changed my whole perspective. No, but like, I understand why she talks about the enemy a lot, because Christianity is very spiritual. I consider myself a very spiritual person, so I can see how she believes everything is spiritual. Especially, I don't know if you've seen prayer warriors out there, but there are people who have been giving spiritual gifts where they can see supernatural things from God. I feel like this author, Priscilla, she was mentioning how her grandma was a prayer warrior and how her grandma actually inspired this book. And I recently watched this movie called Sound of Hope. It's based on a true story, and this one talks about saving children from abusive homes. It was based on this small town community, Possum Trot, who convinced their whole church and really spread the message to adopt children who are not so easy, who basically come with a lot of trauma. In that movie, I really saw how the community got together and really prayed and how powerful their prayer was, that when I started reading this book, I just got taken back to that film, and I really just envisioned the community praying, and I realized, maybe her grandma was the same way. Because when I saw the movie and how they prayed, it was so beautiful. Look, I made this coffee. It's not really the greatest because you can tell it has like more creamer than it does coffee. It's like I'm drinking pure milk. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.